Now this linear equation is written in function form. Function form is, when it comes to the context of graphing, as far as we're concerned, we'll have y on one side and everything else on the other side. In other words, we've solved for y. So when you solve for y, you're writing y in function form. So we could just as well call this f of x equals to negative 3/4 x plus 5. And so there it is as a linear function. All right, well, a linear function describes those kinds of functions that are straight lines. Okay, well, I'm going to, again, since I'm doing the point plotting method in this video, I'm going to do an XY chart. And in this case, here it makes sense to pick only input values and calculate output values. Because if I plug a number in for y, I've got to do some algebra in order to solve for x. So let's just use x values. And what's the easiest value to calculate with? Some students tell me 1, but I really think it's 0. If x is 0, then y has to be 5, doesn't it? Because 0 times negative 3/4 will cancel. Y is 5. Very simple. Our next choice, let's pick 4 for x. Because if I pick something that's not a multiple of 4, the 4 won't cancel and I'll end up with a fraction, which is okay, but if we want to avoid fractions, then you want to plug a number in here that's going to cancel your denominator. And 4 is, to me, an easy choice. So that means y equals to negative 3/4 times 4 plus 5, and the 4's cancel. So we have negative 3 plus 5, which is positive 2. There we go. So I got my 2 points, and if you want to do a third point, I would never discourage you from doing that. If you're very confident of your calculations, then 2 is all you need to draw a line. So let's draw this line. All right, and this kind of gives me an idea of my scale and how big the graph will be. All right, so I go out to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot of students like to get graph paper. If you want to use graph paper, you can. If you go to my website or email me, I can give you the link to free graph paper if you want to print it off on your computer. I have lots of kinds of graph papers, or you can go to the store and buy it. But if you want free, just to run off a few off your printer, email me or I'll email it to you. If you're in an online class, I'll draw it to your attention. I don't normally ever use graph paper. I freehand my stuff. To me, it's fine. If you want to freehand it, just as long as you're not too sloppy or make it too small, freehanding is fine. And you don't get the distraction of all those grid lines. So anyway, now if you do use typical store-bought graph paper, the little tiny squares, I would change your scale so that you don't, each square is not a single unit. Most of the time I would make it a couple of squares, maybe 4 or 5 squares is 1 unit. Give me a big graph, don't give me a tiny graph, again, if you want full credit. All right, well, let's see. 0, 5 is the y-intercept, it's up here. And, whoops, I need to label my axes. Well, I'll do that in a minute. And 4, 2 is 4 on the x, 2 on the y, so over 4 up 2 is here. There we go. So let me label the numbers, draw the graph. So the units, again, I've chosen to be by ones. All right, that should do it. And then again, got to draw the line. Try to be neat about it. I don't expect you to use a ruler or straight edge, but if you can't draw a reasonably straight line, then do get a ruler. All right, there you go. That's it. Now, in the next section, we're going to explore other aspects of lines. Lines it takes two pieces of information to describe a line. Now commonly people know that, well, it takes 2 points to describe a line. You can draw a line through 2 points. But if you broaden that, it takes 2 pieces of information. And we could say one piece of information is this y-intercept of 5, which appears here. And so this 5 and that 5 are not coincidence. The y-intercept is this number. And the other piece of information is called the slope, -3/4. And that describes the change, the relative change from one point to the other. So if I drop down 3, go to the right 4, -3/4 is the slope. So we'll talk about that in our future section, or at least a future topic.